So I've been part of the New Walk Museum group, which has been looking at helping to direct visitors to the museum up the stairwell. Mainly visitors go through the front door, so the idea is to change the direction of visitors in terms of their focus so they can see there's an upstairs to the museum and guide themselves up there. So today's been building upon the last meeting we had to fine that down to a particular approach which has turned into a projection on the wall at the side of the museum where we're going to have animated characters walking up the stairs to try and guide people up there. I guess it's mainly about thinking about audience really. So it goes from many different spheres, but in education we're very used to thinking about student needs, and so what are their particular needs at this particular time. We design the courses to meet that. If we're not targeting them particularly, then they're not going to study, and the same with the visitors. So thinking when they walk through that door, what are the immediate needs in the threshold space. In the first meeting we had, we thought about the need to prepare to get themselves out of the outside and into the inside of the museum, prepare themselves mentally and physically for the visit, taking coats off, arranging pushchairs, that kind of thing. And then beginning in education to begin to study in the museum, begin their visit and actually starting to visit. So those same concepts I think have worked out quite useful in determining where we go. Well, today I thought we did really well actually. We used a lot of different technologies, both manual, so plasticine, card, and also things like projection, mapping out diagrams on the floor and arranging furniture and so on. So we've used a lot of techniques to sort of visualise the kind of area we've got, the kind of restrictions we need to work in, and testing out different ideas, which has really freed us up, I think, to sort of sit back, think about the issues at hand, go back to the original requirements and focus in quite narrowly on a particular solution that will meet the particular needs that we had. So we've worked from what could have been a very broad church of ideas. We could have run lots of different directions at the beginning of today based on the last workshop. But we've actually very quickly this morning focused down on a particular approach or a very small range of approaches that directly meet the needs of the museum, which I think has been really successful. The kind of burning issue that always comes out is budget. I mean, we don't have one, so we've got to think very creatively about how we introduce basically a test for a few days within a museum that will look and work effectively, but then can disappear within 3 days' time, all at no cost effectively. So that's a creative problem, and that's really just sitting there and thinking about different ways we might be able to approach that and be quite creative in that. So there's that to do. There's a bit of a creative think again around that. But then there's areas that we've not even thought about yet, which is how are we going to evaluate that once it's in place? So what's our evaluation strategy? What do we need to know? Is it going to be a success if we shift the entire visitor population from going one way to going another way, or is it a success if we manage to shift 10% or whatever, or particular types of people? Do we want to leave kids alone and only go for adults or whatever? So that's that strategy we need to think out as well. And then there's probably a kind of communication plan as well. So with the museum in particular, so how are we going to broach this to the museum? What's the offer we're making? How do we get them to get on board with that? And what are the steps to doing that? Communicating with people like the in-house training staff so that they're aware of what we're putting in and can help with that process and so on. And then really sort of thinking about the tasks going forward. So we need to source things like illustrators, animators. We need to probably go and have another look at the foyer space and map out sizes and dimensions, think about the projection needed, where we can put projectors, that kind of thing. So a lot of practical work in actually getting the project pulled together over time.